Yo YouTube, Brewski here, back after a little bit of time off. So, back to army list reviews here. I ran into someone on Instagram. This is going out for NerdHobbyMom. She does cosplay, War Machine, a whole bunch of cool stuff. Check out her page. She was looking for some help with a 75-point retribution list in Shadow's theme, the ninja theme, which I'm not a pro at, but I've definitely wanted to take a crack at. She specifically wanted help picking out her jacks. Now, this really wasn't hard to do because looking at her page, you can see what she tends to run and what she uses. Mom, one thing I found is I noticed you use Assyria and Hyperion in a combination once in a while. I'm staying away from that. I've seen it before, and I'm just staying away because I think it's a bit too much of a point sink. Check this out. This is what I think you should do for a 75-point list, okay? Run Gareth 1. He's taking a Banshee, a Chimera, a Demon, and Moros. He's got 3 Arcanist mechanics, 2 List healers, 2 Mage Hunter assassins, Narn, Nail, a max unit of Mage Hunter infiltrators with Iris 3 as a command choice, Mage Hunter Strike Force max unit, and Spears of Scyrah. That brings you to 75 points. Now, basic gist of this is, again, I'm using models that I saw on your page. By the way, you have absolutely wonderful looking jacks. I like the muted kind of gray-black theme. This plays to the strength of the list, and it utilizes what you already have. It doesn't point sync like the Hyperion's going to. This thing literally draws as many points as it takes to get this battle group made. Plus, you usually run other jacks, and I know you have Arcanists to back them up, but that just doesn't seem all that efficient to me. I think you're going to get more bang for the buck running this way than that. Just going over your theme again, just recapping what this list has and what it can do. The Shadows of the Retribution theme buffs. 1, warrior models get optional takedown. If you disable a model by a melee attack, they can't make tough rolls, and when a model is boxed in melee, you can choose that it just be removed from play. This allows you to take out models without necessarily triggering some of their abilities. So if you're looking at playing Menoth and they have Vengeance on a number of models, this sidesteps that, I believe. Second thing is you get to reroll the starting roll for the game one time. You just have to decide if that's going to be in your favor or not. This is what I call the turn 2 or second round coffin strategy. I like reacting to the opponent more often. I don't mind being the guy to close out the game at the end of the turn. So this might be something you like to do, and it might not. But either way, you have the option to reroll. Pretty good. Okay. Gareth 1 is obviously one of the better assassin casters in the game. You're not going to be taking him to run his battle group. You're taking him to use spells, get in, and assassinate something. His feat, Vortex Lock for 1 round. In his control range, enemies can't cast or channel spells, use Focus or Fury, or be moved by place effects. You basically lock down a whole bubble and prevent a lot of shenanigans from occurring. He's got Stealth, Pathfinder, and Parry, so it's very hard to kill him if he's properly used. He's got Acrobatics, which means he can move through his own guys. Dual Attack, he can fight in melee and ranged in the same activation. Ranged attacks can also be used in melee, so he's versatile as heck. His jacks also get repositioned 3 inches. This is killer because you're relying on a lot of melee. Your Banshee, your Chimera, your Moros even is going to want to stick close to Gareth, but you're going to want to get them into range and used very quickly. He's got Pistol Blades, Magical, Blessed, and Weapon Master on the blades with Grievous Wounds. So he's getting extra damage dice in melee, and the target loses tough and can't heal for a round. This, again, is very good for taking things out and making sure they stay dead. Spells are varied. He's got a lot of debuffs. He's got a lot of movement. He's a bit unique in his spells in some cases, but I think he's a very good choice no matter what you're doing. Crippling Grasp. Model unit gets -2 speed, strength, defense, and armor, so you're making it slower, weaker, and easier to kill in melee and close combat. Wow. 3 in the morning, isn't it? Melee and shooting. Gallows is an offensive spell. If this hits an enemy, it can be pushed d6 towards Gareth or the point of origin. So if you're arcing this through the Chimera, keep that in mind. Gatecrasher. Warps Gareth anywhere within 5 inches, but his ranged attacks have to target in melee range. So this is a good way for him to teleport into melee as a surprise. He can then fight with his guns. Mirage gives apparition to a friendly model or unit, can be placed within 2 inches of its location. Perseverance. Friendly model or unit gets +2 armor and can't be pushed, slammed, moved, etc. This is a weird spell, and I notice it's not one that is laid out as particularly popular on War Machine line of sight. But I think in this list it's really useful because you aren't running very tough infantry. It's not like you're running Dawn Guard. You're running infiltrators and strike force and spears. You have Mage Hunter Assassins. They don't exactly have the toughest armor in the game, so I think that actually comes very much in handy early on. Again, this guy is made to assassinate. Get him up close. Use his spells to weaken things up, soften them up turn one, maybe use Perseverance. Get him in. He is paired up, obviously, with Moros, his bestest buddy of a Warjack. This has Parry, Stealth, and Pathfinder. He's got shields, which is good. He's got Fleet. He gets plus 2 inches of movement if it has 2 or more focus on it. It pays to load this guy up. If Gareth is going to load up a Jack, this should be the one. Leave the rest to your Arcanist. That's why you're taking 3 of them. The Jack's already speed 7, by the way. This thing is ridiculously fast. He gets Acrobatics in Gareth's control range, and he can move through other models, again, helping him maneuver around. Death Shadow Gun. This is probably the best reason for taking it. Power 12, Magical, and Paralysis. The target's defense goes down to 5. It can't run, charge, slam, or etc. for 1 round. You're basically rendering something close to stationary and very easy to hit. God forbid that's a caster or a warlock. Blades also cause paralysis. Those are power strength 13. For a light, it could be more powerful, but it's very nimble, it's very tough, and the paralysis is a very nice ability, especially for Gareth, because it'll just set something up for his assassination run or something else's. Chimera is an arc node with decent melee ability. Apparition, you can move him within 2 inches, and Phantasmal Field, he gets plus 1 defense against ranged and magic for each focus on it. It only has glaives, power strength 12, but has combo strike for a single power strength 16 attack. Banshee is your beat stick. I would recommend, if possible, and if this thing can keep up, it is one of the slower Jacks, pair it up with Moros. Wailing, within 5 inches, enemies can't give or take orders and can't cast spells. You basically have a mini version of Gareth's feet running up the battlefield. Force Cannon, 12-inch range, power 14 gun, magical and momentum. Smaller medium models hit are slammed D3 inches away and large models are knocked down. That's handy if you have to take out a Jack. That's great if you have to deal with something little. Works either way. Light and heavy void blades, power strength 15 and 18 respectively with grievous wounds. Good way to take out tough infantry and models. Again, keep in mind this thing is slow. It's a good target for Mirage. It's already pretty good, and the reposition buff helps get this guy in range too. Demon is a straightforward weapon platform. This is the shootiest of your Jacks, okay? Vortex Cannon, range 10, power 12, magical with reload. You get an extra shot with a focus, and it has Vortex Blast. If the shot directly hits an enemy before rolling for damage, you push models within 2 inches of the target towards it 2 inches and center a 3-inch AoE. Those models are then hit as well. Again, this is a good way... this is a nice way if you have to take out units. It sort of black holes the models closer. That could also be good as a setup. If it doesn't necessarily kill them with the shot, it means that they're going to be bunched up. If you have other types of attacks you want to use, other spells, if you want to get Gareth and a couple of the Mage Hunters to sort of dogpile on them, that's one way to do it. Light and heavy Rune Fist, power strength 14 and 16 with magical and blessed. Could be stronger, but still not too bad. Pair this up with a target of Crippling Grasp. It's a good way to make sure damage gets done. Arcanists. These guys are obviously here to support and fix your Jacks, so you can get the most out of them without using all of Gareth's focus, because he's going to want to use spells more often than power up his Jacks. You really want to empower Moros and the Banshee. Chimera, not so much. I think the Chimera is the most expendable Jack you have. Arc Node for turn 1 and 2. If it's around after that, fine. They can keep it alive, obviously, but again, I think you're going to want to focus on Moros and the Banshee. Okay, you have 2 list healers. Now, there's a funny drawback I just thought of with this. These guys, they heal and they buff your guys, and they create a debuffing bubble, which is nice. But if you have a ton of ambush and advanced deployment and Pathfinder, and your infantry is more or less flying up the field or is already up, deploys further up, then these guys are going to be sitting in the back. I don't know that they're going to have as much use. Potentially for your home field advantage, if you're going to sit a unit on one of your objectives, if you're going to take care of your Arcanists and keep them alive, maybe if you camp Gareth back for the right moment it's a good way to make sure he stays alive too. 2 Mage Hunter Assassins. I love these little chain-wielding psychos. Oh my god. Stealth, Pathfinder, Advanced Deployment. Get these little psychos close to their targets and help keep them alive. Chain Blades aren't super strong, but the Chain Strike plus Decapitation means they do double damage above the armor of the target they're hitting, and Weapon Master gives them an extra damage dice to make that happen. These guys, Narn, to some degree, Iris, Nail, they're all kind of like Fire and Forget missiles. Alright, you just power them up the board. Maybe one of these can sit on an objective, but they go hunting. They go after other solos, they go after small units, they go after the caster. Just get them in and watch them work. You've used them before, I'm willing to bet, so you kind of know what I'm talking about there, Mom. Narn. Good old buddy Narn. Mage Hunter Vios. Advanced Deployment, Parry, Stealth, and Pathfinder. It basically sets him up like your Mage Hunter Assassins. He's obviously a bit better. He's got Acrobatics, which gets him moved around a little better. Gives all Mage Hunter models in command Spring. If a model is killed, warriors in melee, it can make a full advance afterwards and the activation ends. Crossbow for ranged attacks and 2 sabers with Blessed, Weapon Master, and Silencer, which makes a model hit by them unable to cast spells for 1 round. This I can see as being really, really good. Not only if it's a caster, I don't think Narn is going to live very long if you do that, but that is a way to tie him up for a turn and deprive him of spells. Otherwise, if you have sort of those magical solos like Greylord Adjunct or Forge Seer, sort of mini wizards or whatever, this is a great model to take on those because it directly will just render them mostly useless. Nail. He's another advanced deployment stealth boy, but you want him to die. You don't want him to live. Get him close to the enemy because once he dies, models within 8-inch lose their focus and fury and can't cast or channel or be forced. That also means yours. So that's why I say he's a bit more of a magical tactical nuke. He's just able to kill more things than, say, Hermit can. Otherwise, he's got a sword. Okay, into your units, you've got the Mage Hunter Infiltrators max unit with Iris 3. Sword-wielding ninjas, Pathfinder and Stealth again. These guys can ambush, so they can come on from a table edge of your choice, except for your opponents. They have Gang, which is a nice melee buff when they're close to each other in melee. And Reposition 5, so they can move insanely quickly. Blades are all blessed, and they have Combo Strike, giving you a much stronger attack if you choose, at the cost of a volume of attacks. So if you're taking on tougher infantry or something with more hit points, this might be a good idea. Iris is action-packed with assassination abilities. Stealth, Arcane Hemorrhage. She hits another model, loses D3 Focus, Fury, or Essence, and its upkeeps that it casts expire. She has Ambush with the Infiltrators. I paired her up with them in this list. I know some people would go the other way and put her with Mage Hunter Strike Force. I just think since they're all melee, it's better to get them in and buff them as much as possible. This kind of wastes Mark Target because it's not her unit. They don't have ranged. I can live without that. Worst case, switch it. It's obviously not a points change. You can switch this to the other, the unit of the Mage Hunter Strike Force. I wouldn't put her with the Spears because they have Shield Guard. That potentially puts them in line of fire, and you don't want her to die blocking for something else. It's just a waste of her points. She also has Quick Mark. When she kills a model in melee, she gets a range attack, and she gives the unit Tough, making them very hard to kill. She's got Blessed, Magical, and Weapon Master on all her weapons, ranged and melee, so she is as good as it gets. She's right up there with Gareth. If you pair the two of them up and something isn't dead by the end of the turn, I am absolutely going to be stunned. The dice just don't like you if that happens. I'm sorry. Okay, Mage Hunter Strike Force max unit. These guys are the ranged and melee combo unit. I ignored the commander due to points, and I think these guys are going to be your take and hold or your sit on objective unit if you need them to. They have advanced deployment, combined melee and combined ranged attack, one of the few units that has both, Pathfinder and Stealth. They also have Jack Hunter. They get extra damage dice against melee and ranged attack damage rolls targeting Jacks. How nifty is that? Khador list, Menoth list, anybody running really heavy armor, Crucible Guard, Rulic Mercenaries, that's a nightmare waiting to happen for those guys. God. Unless they're straight up running nothing but Jacks, I mean, you're going to make easy work of something with those. Spears of Scyrah, last unit, triple threat of badassery. Pathfinder, Stealth, Duelist, they get +2 defense against melee attack rolls. Reposition 3, Shield Guard, and Vengeance. If one or more models are damaged by an enemy attack in the last round, they can advance 3 inches and make a melee attack. Spears are magical, blessed, and have Weapon Master. They're elite and harder hitting and longer lasting than your regular Mage Hunters. They can take on a small unit or tougher solos, maybe even a Jack if they have to. The Weapon Master helps out there, but I wouldn't count on them living or staying very long. The Shield Guard, again, is a good plus. It'll help keep something alive or keep the heat off something else if you need to. I think that's the last thing you want to use these guys for. Get them in offense, really. But if you really have to, okay, not the worst use. All right, so those are your individual units and their basic abilities. Here's what I see the list doing. This is kind of working in blobs, okay? Your army is like a symphony orchestra. Different parts do different things at the same time, and it all works great. One, your heavier jacks start shooting and get into combat as they can. That's your Demon and your Banshee. Moros takes a couple of pot shots. Chimera is your Arc Nodes, who you actually use up Crippling Grasp and other abilities early on to debuff things so they die easier. Then do the same thing in melee once you get close enough, okay? Your battle group is going to want to stick close to the caster, not just because of power up and all that, but because they get reposition, and because I think they're all going to be working pretty close together. The Mage Hunter Assassins, Nail, Narn, and the Spears are all fire and forget missiles designed to kill stuff, so set them loose and watch the fun. I think Nail, you want to keep a bit on his own, put him off to one side or further up, whatever you want to do. You obviously want him to die to really get the best out of him. Have him go after something tough, do some damage in melee, and die. It's a good way to use them. The units are your blobs. You're either going to take objectives or take out other units with those. And they're pretty well suited to be adaptable for anything you run into. The Strike Force can obviously take on Jacks. The Infiltrators can take on any kind of infantry. They have combined melee and ranged attack in the Strike Force, which is handy if you really have to double up and take out super tough infantry like Skinwalkers, or they can take on Jacks as needed. Obviously, this screams assassination. Your opponent's going to see that. You should know that. It's not made to win scenario. It could. It's not the best at it. I don't think you don't have the toughness. You don't have the resilience. If they have a shooty army, you're going to get blown off the map trying to hold a position. You really need to get everything you have used offensively as rapidly as possible. If Khador runs something like a gunline list, like Jaws running a lot of snipers and stuff with demolishers, Crucible Guard, Signar, those are going to be your biggest issues. Khador, again, has tough, heavy jacks. Signar can shoot the board out from under you. Crucible Guard is a bit psycho on both, really. You want to watch out for fire and corrosion effects, just because, again, you don't have the highest armor, you don't have a lot of toughness there. Menoth and Krix, Legion, if they have a lot of blighted units, those are going to be kind of tough for you, I think. You're going to do better against stuff like Circle, Scorn, infantry-based lists that aren't necessarily shooty. Melee lists like maybe Winterguard Command, if they're just using sort of basic infantry. Gravediggers, those are going to be a little bit easier pickings for you, I think, because your army is just made to kill things. You have a lot of stealth, you have a lot of ambush, so you're not going to have a lot of opponent setup. Most games in armies I see, it's kind of like chess, and everything is well positioned to begin with. You sort of deny that with a lot of ambush and a lot of advanced deployment. You're right on the enemy's doorstep from the get-go. They don't have time to move. They don't have time to adjust. They just kind of have to start taking things out or die themselves. So that's going to be your best advantage. Anyway, there is your list. I really hope you like it. I hope this helps you narrow down what jacks to use. And again, I think it's a different view. I've literally seen, again, just going back to the Assyria-Hyperion combination, I've seen this on some of Wargamer Girl's bat reps, and I noticed it was kind of popular. It's workable, but I think it sucks with Shadows. I think that's made for Dawn Guard. I think that's made for Defenders, maybe even Forges, but I think it's a horrible choice in Shadows just because you really rely on a lot of assassination, and that is not a serious cup of tea at all. I hope that helps. I hope you like your list. As always, guys, if you've been watching this and you're enjoying these army lists, if you want one reviewed, drop me a comment or drop me an email. Remember, I can either build you a list or review one that you have or help tweak it. Even if you want to see a unit and an MVP, let me know there. As always, we are also trying to grow the channel, so if you want to help me out with that, please leave a like, comment, share this video with friends or people you're trying to get into the game, and of course subscribe to see more videos like it. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Stay savage.